Ladies and gentlemen, how are you? Waco from Revolution here with a man who actually needs no introduction, Karl-Friedrich Scheufele, the co-president of Chopard, the man behind some of the most incredible technical innovations in the watch industry, helming Chopard L.U.C, the man who also helms Ferdinand Berthoud and has just won an award at the Geneva Grand Prix. How are you, sir? Lovely to see you.
Great to see you, and it's great to be back in Singapore after 3 years of absence, and it's my first long-haul trip. And obviously Singapore is the mecca of the watch collectors and aficionados, and that's the first place we needed to go to.
Well, that's very kind of you to say, and as a Singaporean, I'm deeply touched and honored. So we're here to celebrate the Full Strike. We have in this box with us the trilogy of Full Strike watches. We have the incredible Full Strike Tobium, the Full Strike and Sapphire Crystal. I have to take a pause when I say that because that watch is so breathtaking, and an execution of the Strike 1 in rose gold. However, I would like to ask you a question about the Full Strike Sapphire Crystal technology. If we go back in time, and I remember you saying that you would only create a minute repeater if you could actually bring something to this complication. And what I love about what you created is that when people listen to it, and we had one evening in Singapore, we had a bunch of collectors playing many different minute repeaters, some very famous ones from what are considered to be the entrenched references, but the Full Strike's song blew them away. It was just so beautiful. Tell me about the creation of this technology.
Well, we introduced the first Full Strike, of which I have a prototype here. This is actually the first working watch that we produced. In 2016 and 2017, the watch actually won the Grand Prix, the Aiguille d'Or,
yes,
as you know very well. But leading up to that, it took us 3 years, out of which 2 were only spent on studying the sound and trying to make what became the crystal clear sound. And basically, we had almost already constructed the movement, but we wanted this transmission of sound leading out of the case, like a loudspeaker. And so we followed up on this lead that we had in terms of using sapphire crystal and a sapphire crystal gong, which are made of one single piece. And easily said, but very difficult to achieve.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I love about minute repeaters is they remind me in cycling, the time trial is called the race of truth. And you can't hide anything because you're just by yourself on your bicycle. Well, similarly, a minute repeater, you can say everything you want about it, but when you listen to it, it reveals all. And I think that that's what's so magical about your minute repeaters. They are so stunning to listen to. Very loud, yes, it's sure, and there are very loud minute repeaters, but the beauty of the song is exquisite. I want to go through with you each of these 3 watches because each of them are significant from a historical perspective. And maybe we'll start with the Strike 1 because this was your initial foray into striking watches, and now it comes with this sapphire crystal technology. How does it feel to have kind of married these 2 eras from your history?
Well, the Strike 1 was really, as the name indicates, our first strike. And obviously, looking back and comparing the 2, the Strike 1 had a very nice sound to it, but obviously you had to approach it very much to your ear to enjoy. Now, using our new technology on the Strike 1, it adds another dimension to it. And in this trilogy, I thought it was very interesting to include it. Also, as kind of an entry into the world of striking watches concerning Chopard. And the Strike 1 is something that I'm particularly attached to.
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredibly important watch from a historical perspective. It was an hour striker, which was, again, your first foray. And let's go from that to something that is really a watch of the future, we can even say, because it is using, of course, sapphire crystal for the gongs, but it's also got a sapphire crystal case. And I remember listening to this watch together with you and Gauthier Capuçon and talking about the sonic qualities imparted by this watch, which were breathtaking.
Well, what I need to say is we went through different series already of full strikes. We did pink gold, white gold, platinum, and what we didn't know is that there is a slight difference to when it comes to the material. Now, talking about sapphire crystal, we didn't expect to add just another dimension, which Gautier and Renault confirmed, in fact. And that was very interesting because it's not something we couldn't simulate. You could only listen to.
Yeah, you know, it was amazing to discuss this with him because as a professional musician and a very famous one, his ear is attuned to detecting nuance that probably I'm
Yes.
not capable of hearing. And the fact that he was able to talk about the full strike in Sapphire with such glowing terms
Yeah.
was extraordinary to me. Okay, let's go from that to a watch that I think kind of brings together two of the iconic innovations of Chopard L.U.C. One is the tourbillon, and let's face it, I think we can call you the unrivaled king of tourbillons because you were the first one to actually, in large series or in the number of watches that you made, have a COSC certification for every single tourbillon that you created, showing that in fact it was a precision device, and you've now married this to the incredible full strike technology. Tell us about the tourbillon minute repeater.
Well, the COSC certification, just to go much further back in time, to 1997, we decided in the very beginning that every L.U.C caliber which would feature a second hand must be COSC certified. So we had no choice when we introduced the tourbillon. And obviously, a tourbillon, when it married a full strike, if you wish, no choice either. So, yes, it is quite rare, or if not
I think it's
totally unique,
Yes.
that you would have this this combination here, and that was obviously in the pipeline at one point. But I think the combination is really wonderful.
You mentioned this wonderful year, 1997, quarter of a century ago. You know, there was a watch that was unveiled that year, which has become something of a legend. It was a Chopard 1860, born in 1997, which featured the caliber 1.96, one of the most mythical and hallowed calibers of all time. Micro rotor, bidirectional, with incredible COSC certification and Geneva seal. And if I'm not mistaken, there is a very unique execution of this watch made in a small series to celebrate your partnership with the Hourglass.
Yes.
And I believe I have the watch right here.
You have the watch right here.
I'm
yes.
going to hold it up to camera, but perhaps you could just tell us about this and what it means to create this together with Michael from the Hourglass.
Well, indeed, we are within the 25th year of the anniversary year of this watch, if you wish, and the whole L.U.C collection. So it's a very important year, and I'm not an overly nostalgic person. I'm always looking at what is next and what we do, what's new. But then I really recognize the appeal of the 1860, which, as you just said, is growing, and I think the 1860s is also very much very comfortable in its time today.
Yes.
With smaller watches gaining ground again, thank God, and the younger generation really appreciating these watches, including my own son. So it was a pleasure when Michael Tay came up to me and asked if we could look at this particular watch that we ended up doing. And I think it's I only have one regret, that I didn't make one piece for myself.
Oh no! I'm so sorry to hear that.
But it's stunning.
It's magnificent to behold. It's got a champagne dial, which in contrast with the white gold case is beautiful. I love this. I think it's an all new pattern of guilloche à main.
It's a new pattern of guilloche, and it's Actually, it's a very contemporary look. And the dial is really yellow gold. It's very crisp, and I really like the combination here.
Tell me about the use of this logo, the L.U. Chopard logo.
Yeah, the logo went through different stages, and the very first L.U.C. 1860 has had the classic logo in English writing.
Right.
And as we went along, we introduced the L.U. Chopard, and that is the logo we use today. So, therefore, this watch is not a reproduction of anything. It's a new interpretation, if you wish.
I love it. I mean, it just shows you how significantly
Yes.
relevant this watch is for the audience of today.
Yes.
And I love the use of this strap. I feel there's a kind of Karl-Friedrich kind of emotion about this strap.
Exactly,
Yes.
you're right.
Oh, really? I love because it feels so
Yeah.
contemporary. You know, if I'm not mistaken, Karl-Friedrich, this dial is made by a really renowned dial maker known as Metal M.
Yes.
Do you like this dial maker?
Well, not only do I like this dial maker, we actually own this dial maker. So we have a big responsibility to keep up this tradition. And Metal M is one of the few companies who masters this 100-year plus a tradition of making guilloche dials, hand guilloche dials. And we are very happy that we could introduce a new pattern here, particularly for this watch.
Absolutely magnificent. You know, I don't want you to ask you to reveal anything you're not comfortable with, but I had the pleasure of dining at your house with your lovely wife and your daughter's dachshund, Lenny, who's
Yes.
an incredible dog. And as you know, I have a real
Yeah.
penchant for dachshunds. And we discussed the future design identity of Chopard L.U.C. And I have to say, what I saw really blew me away because it was so, in some ways, relevant to the type of watches that people would like today. So identifiable from a distance.
Yes.
A unique design language that I think really conveys the technical innovation and excellence of what you've achieved. What can we expect from Chopard L.U.C. in the future, sir?
Well, I think after 25 years, kind of, you passed a stage of you're no longer young, but you're supposed to be more adult.
Yes.
And in that respect, we decided that L.U.C. Can be taken, should be taken to yet another level of refinement, based on all these beautiful movements that we have, but also based on developments to come. And therefore, we reviewed the case design, and what you saw is what the public will discover sometime next year.
Amazing. And without revealing too much, I also love that, as you mentioned, classic size and proportions are back.
Yes.
And what I saw is a real expression and embodiment of that. Karl-Friedrich, may I ask you a favor? I feel I would be remiss to leave this interview without asking if we could listen to your magnificent full strike and Sapphire. Is that possible? That is absolutely magnificent to behold. A true treasure. Thank you so much, sir.
Welcome. Thank you.